We all remember how Edward Stephen, also known as Eddie Hall, lifted a staggering half a ton in front of a huge crowd at the 2016 World Deadlift Championships in Leeds, nearly landing him in the hospital. He broke the world record by 37 kilograms in just one night, first beating his own record by 2 kilograms and then making a huge leap, immediately to 500 kilograms, becoming the first man in history to deadlift half a ton in professional competition. Since then, several powerlifters have actually deadlifted half a ton outside of competition. An example is Evan Apol, who lifted 502.5 kilograms. However, he performed it in competition using a sumo deadlift setup, which allows for a smaller range of motion compared to the classic leg stance in a classic deadlift. It's also worth noting that powerlifting also doesn't allow the use of belts. And of course, in 2020, Hafthor lifted 501 kilograms during a competition at his own gym, which was technically a sanctioned competition, and the verification of the lift was actually conducted in an orderly manner. But due to the circumstances and the fact that only a few people were allowed to be in close proximity to each other, many have since called the lift fake, or at least unofficial, as it wasn't part of a larger competition where a larger number of lifters were allowed. But this doesn't change the fact that only 2 people have eher completed a half-ton deadlift in competition, and 3 others have done it without any rules. But considering how many people actually trained exclusively for powerlifting, and how it was possible that only one man in the last 9 years was able to repeat this incredible result, the answer is clear. It's simply difficult. There are reasons why so many successful strongmen and powerlifters still don't even come close to the most famous weightlifting record of all time. The same could probably be said for Ivan Makarov, who lifted 475 kilograms in competition. In the summer of 2023, he lifted 490 kilograms in training, but failed to break the world record in competition. In a sense, this huge gap is actually much smaller, because competitions are structured in a way that doesn't allow for large differences between attempts. So many of them don't produce maximum results, giving the impression that they are significantly further from 500 kilograms. One of the most important reasons other strongmen can still come close despite being significantly lighter is their superior technique relative to muscle size. Deadlifting is also about technique, which comes down to neural adaptation, where the brain helps its motor units, which are nerve cells and innervated muscle fibers, produce greater force. Someone like Mitchell Hooper likely has better deadlift leverage than Eddie Hall. If we were to compare Brain Shaw to Hooper, Hooper is able to deadlift much more efficiently due to his lower body weight and better leverage, despite being over 50 kilograms lighter. There's also the fact that after Eddie Hall and Hafthor focused solely on deadlifts, the hype of half a ton began to work for Hafthor to do 501 kilograms and prove it could be broken. It simply isn't as impressive, even though the deadlift is still arguably the most famous and discussed world record for strength. Almost everyone gives up over 40 kilograms of body weight to these giants to be more competitive. But whoever decides to do this will have to be either incredibly technically proficient, like Mitchell Hooper, or someone already quite large with a build similar to Eddie Hall, like Graham Hicks. Although an absolute giant could come along and break the record like Pavlo Nakanichny, or someone could simply rise from nothing with insane genetics, like Mitchell Hooper, considering how high he managed to lift 505 kilograms and the fact that he still has a long way to go to increase his weight. If he simply focuses all his efforts on deadlifting, I think he could reach 505 within a year, assuming he also manages to avoid injury, of course.